investment firm built on performance, transparency, and scale. Today, DPEG is supported by over 7,500 investors and has successfully executed more than 270 projects with zero capital loss. Over the past 16 years, the firm has consistently delivered strong results. Its lowest annual return was 7.7%, while its highest reached 266.67%. More recently, DPEG achieved 33% average returns in 2021, 46% in 2022, 47% in 2023, and a 20% weighted average return in 2024, all during periods of market uncertainty. With over $2.5 billion in assets under management, these results are driven by disciplined execution and a fully integrated platform. DPEG keeps costs low and quality high by operating key verticals in-house, including property management, title, insurance, energy, construction, and multifamily development, along with its newest vertical, EB5, allowing international investors to participate in projects while pursuing U.S. residency. What sets DPEG apart is simple. Every investor matters. Whether investing $50,000 or $5 million, every dollar is treated with the same level of discipline and responsibility. Dhanani Private Equity Group. Solidify your foundation, securing your future, one investment at a time.
You'll see that we don't just book great artists, and you'll see this tonight. With each artist, we ask why, what's the theme, and why now? Tonight is one of those evenings where the answer to that question is almost too obvious, and we'll get there in a little bit. Now, as I mentioned, none of this tonight would be possible without the generosity of people who believe in the mission enough to put their names and their resources behind it. There's many who invest in innovation and very few who invest in preservation. So to our grant sponsors, our funding partners, and our patrons, and to Nick Dhanani at the Dhanani Private Equity Group, thank you. These evenings exist because of you, full stop. Another please round of applause for those that support the arts. Now, before we get into the show and the artists that are joining us, I want to tell you a little bit about where IAA is headed for the rest of the season. We have an amazing lineup for the 2026 season. We have some extraordinary names you'll recognize: Sudesh Bhosle, Suresh Wadkar, and the extraordinary Priyani Vani Pandit. Artists who represent the full range and depth of what Indian classical and semi-classical music should be. Now, I'm looking out, show of hands, who is already a subscriber or a patron? Let's see, okay. For those of you who are not, I want to give you just a few reasons why to consider that. First, every artist we bring here, every theme has been thoughtfully chosen. You will never walk out wondering why you came. Second, world-class performances that are done at accessible pricings. We genuinely believe that extraordinary art should not be a luxury, and you should be able to afford to come here. And third, and most importantly, is the community. When you look around, you'll see familiar faces, and that this is a cultural family that is growing, and you certainly belong in it. If you've been thinking about getting more involved as a volunteer or a patron, come find us, come find Sheetal Auntie. There is, absolutely space for everyone at the table, and your ticket that you paid for tonight can be counted towards your overall season passes. So don't wait, there is an exciting season still lying ahead. Please join us on that journey. Now, for today's artists, 3 years ago, IAA first presented the Anirudh Varma Collective to a Houston audience. I wasn't there, but what I heard was that we knew we were watching something great that was going to forever change us. There was a quality to their work that you probably couldn't voice, but you could feel. They're back here, which is very exciting, and they are no longer emerging. They have absolutely arrived. And if any of you did a little bit of Googling before, Amitabh Bachchan ji publicly declared himself a fan. So that's when you know the conversation has shifted, as he is a great poet himself. But what makes this evening truly exceptional, and I want to just sit with this for a moment, is that joining them on stage is Pandit Bhuvnesh Konkali, grandson of the legendary Kumar Gandharva, which is incredible. I mean, what an incredible lineage. Yes, round of applause, absolutely, to the greats that have laid the foundation for us, absolutely. Houston has had the rare fortune of hosting him twice before, and to have an artist of this lineage in the room is particularly amazing. Alongside him, it will be performing is Kavish Sethji. He is a young musician, and he actually invented an instrument you'll see tonight called the Nuri. This is a new instrument, which I think is phenomenal. People who invent things like that is just amazing. And I think that tells you a little bit about the spirit of tonight, that you'll hear this blend of sound between ancient, classical, semi-classical, and that's how the program will progress. We'll start with the Anirudh Varma Collective, then we'll be joined in pieces throughout as we build on the momentum of the show. Okay, last bit here. I'd like to spend a few minutes just talking about Kabir in the context of the art here. So earlier when I was sharing, I said the why we're here in terms of the curation of this program is almost all too obvious. For those of you who don't know, Kabir lived in the 15th century Varanasi. He was a weaver by trade, almost certainly from a low-caste Muslim family, and he had absolutely no business becoming one of the most important spiritual voices in human history. He had no Sanskrit foundation, no institutional standing, no powerful patrons. What he had was an unflinching, almost reckless willingness to look at the world honestly and say what he saw. And what he saw on all sides was people confusing the container for the contents. He looked at the Hindu establishment and said, your temple, your priest, your idol, none of that's God. He looked at the Muslim establishment and said, your mosque, your ritual, your ghazi, none of that is God either. He said essentially, you are all performing devotion instead of living in it. He was not popular with institutions, but he was beloved by the people. Kabir sat at the intersection of the Bhakti movement, the great democratization wave of devotional poetry that insisted on a direct, personal, unmediated encounter with divine, and the Sufi tradition, which understood love and longing as the only honest language for what lies before language. From the Nath yogis, he inherited a comfort with paradox and inversion, and from the Sant poets, he inherited a commitment to speak in the tongue of ordinary people, not Sanskrit, the language of scholars. He wrote in dohas, which we'll hear tonight. Those are short, sharp, two-line verses designed to lodge the body into a splinter. They're not designed to be analyzed, though you certainly can, but they're designed to be felt. And what he pointed at over and over again was that the divine belonged not to community, required no intermediary, spoke no privileged language, and could not be called by any institution. In his poetry, he calls this Ram, he calls it Rahim, and he also calls it the unnameable. The name was never the point. His contemporaries, whether Guru Nanak, Ravidas, Mirabai, were all drinking from the same well. Together, almost without intending to, they laid over 500 years of social transformation that we are still feeling today. They laid the roots for voices like Swami Vivekanand and Bhimrao Ambedkar. They democratized sacred knowledge, challenged caste, and said all man, regardless of Hindu or Muslim, could kneel at that same truth. We all know that the world is under enormous pressure, which is why poetry and music like this matter tonight more than ever. Now, I saw a few of the audience, and I know there's a lot of overachievers and possibly even some Desi parents who gave their kids a lot of homework. So I'm up here now. I get to traumatize you back. So I'm giving you all some homework here. So it's more of an invitation. And that is that let's experience this music and poetry in waves. The first layer is simply the sound. So let's hear the reverberations. Let's hear the vibrations. Let's think about what memories or emotions those surface. You don't need anything for that but just the music itself. The second layer, let's think about the history. A weaver in Varanasi 500 years ago refusing to let anyone tell him what God meant. And finally, the third layer is let's think about what this music asks us today. What's still true and what should we let go of? What does this poetry permanently rearrange with us? And I hope you'll all find that Kabir wrote this in the 15th century, but he wrote it for every news channel, every Twitter feed, every reel where people are still arguing about the container instead of the contents. And I think we'll all find that through the voices of these artists and their musicality, he is with us right now. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming with great embrace the Anirudh Varma Collective to stage. Thank you all so much.